Joey on the Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel right here this morning, Sunday, the 3rd of November. It's been snowing pretty good here in Wells. Got maybe an inch or two on the ground so far this morning. Pretty nice. When I realized yesterday that there was going to be this sort of band of snow show up in the Caribou, I was like, I didn't say that in my forecast video, but well, you know, that's how she goes sometimes. But everything else I said for that everything else I said in the last forecast is pretty much bang on. We got this storm coming into BC, and it's going to be bringing some heavy rain, wind, precipitation, snowfall into the interior. Going to be a real solid storm. So let's get to all the dirty little bad news secrets. Let's go. There it is. This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen. Get on! Wow. I'll watch the video later. Ain't try mopping this. I'll go have a look at the Wonderground here. This is my weather station, brought to you by Diggy's Diner here in Wells, BC. Make sure you come and have lunch there if you ever are in town. And what's going on here this morning? Minus 4.3 with a low, but it's up to 0.7 right now, so it's warmed up, and that's what happens when it snows here so often. Once again, this weekend, the worst weather in Canada seems to be happening in BC, although, things have calmed down a little bit, I think, for snowfall down south, so that's nice, but we have this next storm coming in. We have a whole whack of warnings involved. We'll start up with Haida Gwaii first. They get the big strong winds, 90 kilometers, gusting to 110. Vigorous funnel system will impact the BC coast tonight through Monday, bringing strong winds and widespread rain to the region. Overexposed coastal areas of Haida Gwaii, southeasterly winds near 60 with gusts to 80 kilometers an hour will develop late this Sunday evening. With frontal passage, winds will switch to stronger northwest winds near 90 kilometers with gusts to 110 overnight and gradually ease below warning criteria during Monday morning. This goes pretty much the exact same for the Central Coast. If we head down to Vancouver Island, we got special weather statement there because overnight, tonight, and Monday for the Southern Gulf Islands, East Vancouver Island, Inland Vancouver Island, Greater Victoria, West Vancouver Island. Watch for possible washouts near rivers, creeks, and culverts. Clear drains of leaves and debris. High winds may cause tree branches to break and lead to power outages. A potent storm is forecast to impact the south coast beginning tonight. A relatively short but intense episode of rain is expected to begin tonight. Peak rainfall intensities for that area is expected after midnight and early Monday morning, maybe 70 to 100 millimeters of rain over the mountainous terrain west of Vancouver Island. Lesser amounts of rainfall are expected elsewhere across the region. Strong south to southeast winds will develop overnight before becoming very strong west to northwest winds on Monday. Some inland west to east oriented valleys will likely see strong westerly winds. Over on Vancouver Island, not too different. Special weather statement there for strong winds and heavy rains likely tonight into Monday. Early indications call for 40 to 70 millimeters of rain along the north shore of Metro Vancouver. Parts of Vancouver will experience strong southeasterly winds through the day Monday and strong southwest to northwest winds Monday afternoon. These strong westerly winds will spread up the Fraser Valley. Meanwhile, at the Coquihallus Highway, Hope to Merritt, there is a special weather statement for high gusty winds, rapidly accumulating snow, and blowing snow with poor visibilities. Now, keep in mind, folks, that there will likely be more warnings coming up for this, but so far this is what we got. There's going to be a lot of snow in the north, so far we're not seeing any snowfall warnings, and it could be possible that on Sunday some still get issued further in regards to the storm. So even if I'm not talking here in the channel, later on today you might want to have a peek into what's going on here. Okay, a strong frontal system passing through central BC will cause a strong frontal band to sweep through southern half of the province. Strong south winds ahead of the front and upslope snow will arrive on Monday. Behind the front, strong southwest and northwest winds will sweep across the region Monday evening. Snow accumulations on the highest summits like Coquihalla and Kootenay Pass may exceed 20 centimeters again on Monday. Already, because Saturday had a very large storm going on there, we had considerable amounts of snow falling down at the Highway 3 region there, the Paulson Summit and Kootenay Summits, Creston Salmo Summit there. So some great news. The mountain weather forecast is back up on Avalanche Canada as of the 1st of November. Weak ridge of high pressure building over BC Sunday. A strong low pressure system impacts BC on Monday, bringing strong winds and moderate heavy precipitation across the province. Ridge of high pressure will rebuild over BC on Tuesday. This big high here is actually going to make its way inland, and it's going to drag with it a bunch of subtropical warmth, I think you could probably call it. I don't know what a warm-up will look like for us, how exactly crazy that will get. because, it's November now, right? On Sunday today in the BC coast, a few showers over the south coast, freezing levels 1,000 meters to 1,200 to 1,500 meters, periods of light snow in the northwest ranges, strong ridgetop winds, freezing levels rise from 800 to 1,200 meters this afternoon there. General snowfall amounts 2 to 4 centimeters. In the interior, few flurries linger over the Rockies. That's going on right here in the Caribous. Freezing levels rising 1,200 to 1,500 meters in the afternoon, so it will warm up a little bit. Local snowfall amounts 2 to 4 centimeters can be expected over North Rockies and Caribous ranges. Today, 5 to 10 centimeters expected in the South Klondike. Tonight for the interior, few flurries linger over the Rockies. Local snowfall can still be going on in the North Rockies and Caribou ranges. So make sure you go check out Avalanche Canada. This is a great website, and it really gives you a good look at what's going to happen. The maps often have things written on them. They're not quite as crazy as the Navigation Canada maps, which are hard for a lot of people to read. So we will expect freezing levels to be lowering to 1,000 meters. It's going to be a drop. The backside of this low will be bringing cold air in, so it's going to usher in a bunch of cold air before we have a little bit of a warm-up this week. Above seasonal warm-up, nothing too crazy. Strong to extreme southwesterly winds, changing to westerly in the afternoon on Monday. A few flurries in the interior could bring moderate snow. Freezing levels could rise later in the day to 1,500 meters even. Local snowfall is 10 to 20 centimeters can be expected over the southern Columbia Mountains. So good snowfall for them as well. We do have some high stream flow advisories now in effect in British Columbia because of the amount of precipitation that's going to be coming on. The North Coast includes tributaries around Terrace, Kitimat, Gingolks, Lac Scalt, Sop. Oh, I'm so sorry. Nuayanch, but I want to say Gitlac Stomachs, Prince Rupert, and other coastal communities. Sometimes these are hard words to say. And the Central Coast, that would include Bella Coola, Kincombe River, Owikino River, North Vancouver Island, Port Hardy, Port Alice, West Vancouver Island around Gold River, Zeballos, and surrounding areas. Progressive weather systems are forecast to impact coastal British Columbia over the weekend and next week. Current weather forecasting is indicating the potential for moderate to heavy rainfall on Monday, particularly for areas stretching from the North Coast south through Terrace, Prince Rupert, Kitimat, Bella, Kincombe, Northern Vancouver Island. There's still a high degree of uncertainty in the location and intensity of the heaviest rainfall. No, we're not exactly sure 100% who's going to get how much of what and where. There's a good weather model agreement, though. The overall pattern of rainfall focused along the BC coast. So we know what's going to happen. We just don't necessarily know all the specifics, every ingredient, every symptom. Rivers are anticipated to rise in response to the rainfall with potential for high flows on Monday the 4th. Current hydrologic modeling is indicating the potential for flows up to the 2-year to 5-year flow range. Some areas inland are not going to be getting very heavy amounts, although it looks like we could expect through the Pine Pass, through the Columbias and Caribous. Looks like we're going to see some pretty good snowfall totals along there, as well as anything along the coast, right? There's this band that kind of goes, north of Prince George, more or less, maybe through PG region. That could bring a fair bit of snow. Could be north of as well. Like we'd have to Fort St. James or Pinchy or, whatever, right? But somewhere in this band, moving through towards the south of the Yamanika and into the Babine, somewhere in this, there should be a bit of an uptick in snowfall. We can see how this flow will help bring the warmer weather in behind it, but you can see how the cold is on this side of it, right? So that's what they do. The warm feeds in, the cold feeds in. Warm comes in the front, the cold comes in the back, right? And the two of them, and they have this sort of shape, if you can imagine, sort of like so, where the cold would be on the bottom and the warm is on the top, and that's kind of how the front moves along. The cold air in the bottom forcing the warm air up. That's just one of the ways that things can often move. That's kind of what we're looking at right here, right? There's a very typical, at least, thing that you'd look at, and that's what's going on here. Is you have that warm, and you have that cold coming underneath it and pushing that warm air up, and that's what's making this mid-latitude cyclone so angry. And you have a square back and see that central coast there taking some really heavy really heavy snowfall right along at lower elevations. Going to be seeing that as rain. So we are watching this, and that's kind of that same arc that I was just pointing at through that Prince George, more or less, region where some snowfall is going to come in through there somewhere. Vancouver Island taking a lot of rain, a lot of heavy rain. So that's why the high stream flow advisories are up there. And the storm's going to slide down the coast. It really just pounds right in. And, it's energy kind of slow, going sort of on a southward bent, but then we got this reformation of itself over on the Alberta side. And that's why Tuesday we're looking at some of that snow coming into Alberta and maybe even into Wednesday. Not so much for Wednesday. Should be mostly a Tuesday event for you, Alberta. So looking at snowfall rates. And then we got the next sort of secondary show coming up. There's a low up here in the corner you can't really see, and its tail is going to slam up against into the north coast. So we got some really high precipitation numbers. Whether it could also be freezing rain and sleet is what those are. The purple meaning sleet, so kind of a mix of rain and snow and whatnot, right? So and freezing rain down there. So, but I mean, not many people live in this area. I mean, some of you, a couple people do here. Don't get me wrong, and I appreciate when you're watching, but all in all, we're not talking about the bulk of British Columbia's population, right? That's a very remote area in the province. Was a large tornado outbreak of some sort in Oklahoma last night. And as you can see, there's still that setup coming into Monday where there's that severe storm, from Texas, Oklahoma, up into just on the west side of the Appalachians, right up towards the Great Lakes. So Missouri would be in there, right? Some of those Mississippi states. And here's one more look at the snowfall coming into the BC mountains. Looks like Pine Pass getting a good dump in through the Rockies. Travel into Alberta being a total disaster Monday, maybe even Tuesday for you. By the time it clears out, it could be still going on for a day or two. It could linger out a little longer, right? So lastly, we're just going to play through here. This is the large high that's establishing itself right now. And this is more or less, that's the Pacific High. It more or less lives off that California coast and does what it wants, which is mostly stay there. We've seen it move around at times over to the left. We've seen it move to the north last week, a little bit, taking a bit over. It really helped establish a different storm track for a little while. Here it is right now, and it's helping, like we said last video, these two together, working like some kind of machine that propels bullshit into the coast, like a rapid fire. You get into here and it's like zoom and off it goes. That's what's going on right now, is this rapid fire escalators throwing this next bunch of precipitations straight into the province, right? But this high will take over a little bit this week, and it will bring, because of the clockwise motion, will bring some warmer temperatures up into the interior. So I think when we make our next forecast, we'll be looking really closely at temperatures later this week in BC above seasonal. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be hot, right? But it should be above seasonal. Look at this mess going on there over out east right now. Wow. So we're going to play through the animation just one more time here and give you all a good taste of what's going on. Texas thunderstorms happening on Sunday. Big time storms. A large rainfall going on through Wisconsin, right? BC, a little flurries up through the mountains. Nothing too crazy going on. Nothing crazy for accumulation. Storm that is putting itself into the coast. Coming at Haida Gwaii. I'm going to be making landfall sometime in the evening, maybe after 6 o'clock, maybe after 8 o'clock, hitting some landfall in there, and that's what we'll stop and have our first look. Another storm in behind with a long tail. This guy's got a real atmospheric river signature. It's a deep embedded storm low, so we're kind of watching. It doesn't seem like the storm train is going to settle anytime soon. We got a little bit of a break here for the most part, but it wasn't much of a break. We didn't get to take a full direct slamming this weekend for a change, but it didn't necessarily mean that we still ended up with quite a fair bit of precipitation in parts of the province, so you can't really win sometimes. At 10 p.m. on Sunday, here's kind of what we're looking at. Going to see some little stronger winds going on out there. I was mentioning to you that Diggy's Diner there sponsors my weather station. By the way, that weather station is now online right here in Wells. There I am. That's my weather station. So you can do this too. Mark Ingalls has on his website on Ingalls WX. Mark's got a really great blog post about how to get your weather station online. I think this week him and I will maybe get together and have a quick chat here on the channel to try to help everyone understand, see what the benefits of that kind of thing are. Yeah, I like wind gusts because I want to know how bad can it get, not what's it sustained at. Like maybe it'll be sustained at 30, 40, 50 kilometers an hour, but how strong can these wind gusts get? So tonight already we're looking at 2200 hours, 10 o'clock, some strong wind gusts coming into the coast. We'll watch the next animation, bam. And that's when some very, very heavy rain going to be first slamming. So maybe around midnight tonight, that first we'll already have been seeing snowfall through much of the western part of the province between everywhere west of Williams Lake, Prince George. Those are areas that could be seeing flurries. Stronger snowfall signals happening on the coast. Heavy rain right up along the coast. Heavy wind up along the coast. Some of those winds gusting to 80. And look at that. Those reds there, that is extreme rainfall precipitation. So that's rainfall rates, 20 millimeters over the course of 3 hours. Just try to put that in perspective, how heavy that rainfall will be when it's there. So for periods of time, it will be quite impressive. As we come into 3 a.m. now, Prince George should be getting close to snowier. Burns Lake, those heavy bands will be coming near you. Some of those heaviest bands will be making their way over the mountains. They're not going to be necessarily just stopped by the mountains. So even if you are in these regions that are generally a little drier along the east side of the mountain ranges, don't expect that will give you much benefit in the way of no snow. Those heavy rainfall rates going right up the coast, up the west side of Vancouver Island, North Tip. That's extreme wind. Some of those places will be taken in there. So we'll be watching that low, looking at 3 in the morning, sitting right along the coast. So that will really encourage a real strong pounding in the morning. You're going to wake up on Monday and have to go to work in some of these places, and it's going to be an absolute disaster for how much snow is going on there. And then there's the potential of some of these strong winds. We could be seeing branches get broken and power lines and things like this. So heavy snowfall rates north. Looks like some of those areas around Fort St. James could be taking some pretty good snow. Terrace, of course. Look at over by Bella Coola. These snowfall rates are really crazy. Really crazy. 18.8 centimeters in 3 hours. Put that in perspective. It snows for 3 hours and there's almost 2/3 of a foot on the ground. That's incredible. That's incredible snowfall rates. And these purples down here for rainfall rates, incredible rainfall rates, 27. I mean, these are going to be pounding, man. It's going to be very windy. We're going to be slamming, going to be heavy, fat raindrops. As we come into 7 a.m., a lot of you are going for work, and unless you're in this these little gaps where maybe you are low enough in elevation, you took a bit of a break, I wouldn't get too excited about, it's not going to hit us. Yeah, I wouldn't count on that. I think everywhere is going to be a bit of a snow, a bit of a go on it. So when the low comes in land finally by 9 a.m., it will have that sort of warmer core with it. So that should help transition some things to rain into areas near Prince George-ish, right? So that central Ontario will warm up a little bit, but we'll still have by the afternoon on Monday heavy snowfall rates here in the Cariboo Mountains all the way down to Revelstoke. That driving into Alberta is going to be an absolute disaster no matter which way you try to go. There will not be a way into Alberta on Monday afternoon worth traveling through. And you saw those precip rates down by Bella Coola, Stewie here, that's basically Bella Coola. How much snow is coming down there? You do not want to be traveling down to Bella Coola if you can help it on Monday. I would, as far as I'm concerned, I would stay off Heckman Pass. Absolutely 100% for sure. But that's me. And if you've lived in Bella Coola long enough and you're like, well, I remember back in the old days when Heckman Pass was, before they changed it, you could fall off Heckman Pass and land into a different dimension. Things like that, I'm sure is the way it used to be. The Alberta was going to be seeing that clipper moving in on Monday night, and Calgary, Edmonton, it's not out of the question. You take some snowfall. A lot of that's going to be concentrated in the foothills for sure. The Peace, South Peace taking a little bit of snow as well. Tuesday into Tuesday morning, that low will be establishing itself, moving into the Saskatchewan side as the night goes on, in behind on that cold side where the counterclockwise motion bringing the cold air in from the north. So we will see in behind that eventually snowfall making its way into many parts of Alberta. But at first it'll start off as a foothills thing for a little while, right? So I think by Wednesday we finally get a bit of a break that you could actually make a jaunt if you wanted to go. I need to go from Vancouver to Winnipeg this week. Well, maybe wait till Wednesday, I would say, would be your best bet, because so much misery this week. But yeah, here's the good news is that we do have a bit of a warm-up that's going to be coming in with this, and you can see that jumping up, and we have the high pressure establishing itself over the west, and of course that's going. It's an anticyclone, so it's bringing that warm air straight up into us. So very nice. And when I say warm air, I mean above seasonal. So it's not necessarily going to be screamingly hot this week, but hey, if we can see 9-10 degrees, if the sun comes out and you can get a 9 or 10 degree day, that's not out of the question, I don't think. And the funny part will be that the south may be a little bit cooler than the north. We may actually have where northern BC goes a few nights without getting much for frost or whatnot. Over to the Peace in northern Alberta, you could see, look at that, 9-10 degrees almost at 1 in the morning. So that's what I would call a warm-up for sure. But for today, I've talked way too long, so it's time to wrap this up. Please hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Joey on the Caribbean Weather Dude YouTube channel right here. Doing my best. I don't think anybody else in BC is covering weather the way I am. There are people covering weather who are maybe better at it than I am. Hey, I think Christy Gordon and Yvonne Schall, no, they're great meteorologists, but they have 90 seconds to kind of say what they have to say, and that's not how we do it here. We kind of look at things and talk it out, look at the range of possibilities, and we know that every map we look at may not be exactly 100% correct as we get into things, but these gives us a good visual for, and we know confidence is kind of low. Exact specifics, it's going to be a very strong storm, and it's going to kind of do it at once a little bit, but we have some good indications to believe that anywhere in those target areas could see some really intense weather, and we'll be watching this afternoon to make sure that there is no more warnings and watches and things like that for BC. I'm sure by the time I get this video out, they may go ahead and make a new one. I mean, that's so often how it happens. But as far as I know right now, that's all the weather watches and warnings that are available for you on Sunday morning. So please hit like, share, subscribe, join the Patreon, support the channel financially if you can, because that is all I want in life. Okay, that's the show. Bye now.